Hey, Six and Up LMCC writers. I hope you're doing well. This week we're going to talk about a form of creative writing called the short story. So besides poetry, which we talked about last week, short stories are probably one of the most common types of creative writing that you'll read or maybe that you'll write. Most of the time they are exactly what they sound like. Short stories are much shorter than a full-length book. Sometimes they're even shorter than what would be one chapter. They might just be a page or two or a couple of pages. And even though they're shorter, they contain the same amount of plot and interest and expression as a full-length novel. Now, obviously, in a longer book, there's more detailed stories or there's multiple different stories happening at the same time. In a short story, it often follows, one or a few characters or places and sticks pretty closely to that thing. It's kind of like creating a little tiny world that lasts, for just a few pages. It's really an amazing form. Form is just what we use to talk about different categories of writing. So, I think I mentioned a word that you might not be familiar with, and it's called plot, P-L-O-T, right? Plot is basically any kind of storyline. It could be as simple as when you're telling a friend about what you did yesterday. Believe it or not, how you order those events is a form of plot. Your favorite movie, every movie has a plot. Some are more interesting than others. Even like this video that I'm doing right now has a plot. So it's going to start off, I'm going to talk to you for a little bit, then I'm going to read to you, then we're going to watch a little bit of a film, and then there'll be a conclusion. So plots kind of have like 3 or 4 major stages, an introduction or sort of an introduction that is also a description of a place or person, an event, something happens. Often this is called a plot twist. Like if you've heard plot twist in a movie means something happened that you weren't expecting. That's what makes books and short stories and films fun to watch, right? If you knew what was going to happen all the time, it wouldn't be that interesting. Or even if you do know what's going to happen, but the way that it's portrayed is interesting to you, it holds your attention, right? So when you're writing a short story, one of the main things you want to think about is what's going on in the plot. What is the turning point in your story where something happens to a character or a group of characters that keeps the reader on their toes, right? That makes it kind of interesting or challenging for them. I'm going to ask you to try to write a short story this week. I know that most of you probably won't, but it's a really great exercise, and it can be pretty short. It can be just a few paragraphs if you like, but try to come up with something. It could be something from your experience or your imagination or something that you heard. Even if you could do this, if you have a movie that you really love, you love the storyline of it, try to just write that in a story form. It's actually harder than you might think, but it would be super rewarding. You would notice things about the movie that you hadn't noticed before, and you would learn something about writing while doing it. So that's your bigger assignment. Just the little thing that you're supposed to comment in the comments below. I would love for you to give me what the title of your short story would be. So often the title might have like a hook or something that really captures the reader's attention so that they want to read it. And I would love to see what you guys come up with. That would be really fun. So like I said, today we are going to, it's going to be a bit of a shorter video. We're going to read a story together and watch just like a 2-minute little clip of a film adaptation of part of that story. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And let's see. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to watch the clip yet. We are going to read. Now, the cool thing about how this version of the story is typed up It has all these numbers next to it. That makes it easier since we're kind of in a class, like we can follow along together. But on the right-hand side, you see that there's like all these kind of highlighted words, and those are, oh, excuse me, those are in the story itself, and they're words that or phrases that you might not recognize on your own. If you need the definition, it's really cool. They put it right there on the side for you. You don't even have to look it up. So I'm going to read this to you aloud. Sit back and enjoy, and then we'll watch a little movie and be done for the day. Okay. So the title of the story is Thank You, Ma'am by Langston Hughes. She was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but a hammer and nails. It had a long strap, and she carried it slung across her shoulder. It was about 11 o'clock at night, dark, and she was walking home alone, when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke with a sudden single tug the boy gave it from behind. But the boy's weight and the weight of the purse combined caused him to lose his balance. Instead of taking off full blast as he had hoped, the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk and his legs flew up. The large woman simply turned around and kicked him right square in his blue jean sitter. Then she reached down, picked the boy up by his shirt front, and shook him until his teeth rattled. After that, the woman said, "Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here." She held him tightly, but she bent down enough to permit him to stoop and pick up her purse. Then she said, "Now, ain't you ashamed of yourself?" Firmly gripped by his shirt front, the boy said, "Yes'm." The woman said, "What do you want to do it for?" The boy said, "I didn't aim to." She said, "You a lie." By the time the 2 or 3 people passed, stopped, turned to look, some stood watching. "If I turn you loose, will you run?" asked the woman. "Yes, ma'am," said the boy. "Then I won't turn you loose," said the woman. She did not release him. "Lady, I'm sorry," whispered the boy. "Uh-huh, your face is dirty, and I got a great mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?" "No'm," said the boy. "Then it will get washed this evening," said the large woman, starting up the street, dragging the frightened boy behind her. He looked as if he were 14 or 15, frail and willow-wild, in tennis shoes and blue jeans. The woman said, "You ought to be my son. I would teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is to wash your face. Are you hungry?" "No'm," said the being dragged boy. I love this description, being dragged boy. It's perfect. "I just want you to turn me loose." "Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?" asked the woman. "No'm, but you put yourself in contact with me," said the woman. "If you think that that contact is not going to last a while, you got another thing coming. When I get through with you, sir, you are going to remember Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones." Sweat popped out on the boy's face, and he began to struggle. Mrs. Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, and put a half Nelson around his neck and continued to drag him up the street. Half Nelson is a wrestling move where you have somebody like under your shoulder. Pretty funny. When she got to her door, she dragged the boy inside, down a hall, and into a large kitchenette furnished room at the rear of the house. She switched on the light and left the door open. The boy could hear other roomers laughing and talking in the large house. Roomers in this sentence means like people who live there in other apartments. Some of their doors were open too, so he knew he and the woman were not alone. The woman still had him by the neck in the middle of her room. She said, "What is your name?" "Roger," answered the boy. "Then, Roger, you go to that sink and wash your face," said the woman, whereupon she turned him loose at last. Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and he went to the sink. "Let the water run until it gets warm," she said. "Here's a clean towel." "Are you going to take me to jail?" asked the boy, bending over the sink. "Not with that face, I would not take you nowhere," said the woman. "Here I am trying to get home to cook me a bite to eat, and you snatch my pocketbook. Maybe you ain't been to your supper either, late as it be. Have you?" "There's nobody home at my house," said the boy. "Then we'll eat," said the woman. "I believe you're hungry or been hungry to try to snatch my pocketbook." "I want a pair of blue suede shoes," said the boy. "Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook to get you some blue suede shoes. said Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. "You could ask me." "Ma'am?" The water dripping from his face, the boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he had dried his face and, knowing not what else to do, dried it again, the boy turned around, wondering what was next. The door was open. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, 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 run. The woman was sitting on the daybed. After a while, she said, "I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get." There was another long pause. The boy's mouth opened. Then he frowned, not knowing he frowned. The woman said, "You thought I was going to say 'but,' didn't you? You thought I was going to say, 'but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks.'" "Well, I wasn't going to say that." Pause, silence. "I have done things too, which I would not tell you, son, neither tell God if you didn't already know. Everybody's got something in common, so you sit down while I fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you'll look more presentable." In another corner of the room, behind a screen, was a glass plate and an icebox. Icebox means refrigerator. Mrs. Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse, which she left behind her on the daybed. But the boy took care to sit on the far side of the room, away from the purse, where he thought she could easily see him out the corner of her eye if she wanted to. He did not trust the woman not to trust him, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. "Do you need somebody to go to the store?" asked the boy, "maybe to get some milk or something?" "Don't believe I do," said the woman, "unless you just want sweet milk yourself. I was going to make cocoa out of this canned milk I got here." "That'll be fine," said the boy. She heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa, and set the table. The woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived or his folks or anything else that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women came in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him a half of her 10-cent cake. "Eat some more, son," she said. When they were finished eating, she got up and said, "Now, here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes. And next time, do not make the mistake of latching onto my pocketbook, nor nobody else's, because shoes got by devilish ways will burn your feet. I got to get my rest now. But from here on in, son, I hope you will behave yourself." She led him down the hall to the front door and opened it. "Good night. Behave yourself, boy," she said, looking out into the street as he went down the steps. The boy wanted to say something other than "Thank you, ma'am," to Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. But although his lips moved, he couldn't even say that as he turned at the foot of the barren stoop and looked up at the large woman in the door. Then she shut the door. So that is the end of our incredible short story. I hope you enjoyed that. It's one of my favorites, in part because of the plot twist, like we were talking about. The story starts, and at first you think it's going to go really badly. She's going to report him, or she's going to give him a whooping, or she's going to do something because he tried to steal her purse. And instead, Miss Luella brings him into her home, and she cooks him a meal. And then there's another plot twist. She gives him the money to get the shoes that he wanted, right? And it's like a beautiful moment and a lesson from her, as well as kind of from the boy too. We definitely feel with him in the story. That's one of the amazing things about stories, is you often feel connected to the characters that are in them because of what they're experiencing. And in that same vein, let's watch a little clip, which is a really kind of will help us even understand a bit more. So this is just the first part of the story adapted into a movie.
Oh, you little rascal! Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here. Ain't you ashamed of yourself?
Yes, sir.
Why'd you do it?
I didn't aim to.
You lie. If I turn you loose, will you run?
Yes, sir.
Then I won't turn you loose.
Lay, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. You got a dirty face. I got a great mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?
No.
Then it's gonna get washed this morning. You ought to be my son. I teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is wash your face for you. Are you hungry?
No, I just want you to turn me loose.
Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?
No.
But you had to put yourself in contact with me. Well, if you think that contact ain't gonna last for a while, you got another thought coming. When I get through with you, sir, you are going to remember Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones.
Okay, so that's just a little tiny clip of it. And let's see, I'll stop my screen share. I hope you super enjoyed that. That story is so great, in part because it's such a surprise, and it's short, and it's really wonderful. It's a great message. Everybody makes mistakes. We can only hope that someone as kind of Miss Luella is on the other side of them sometimes to kind of help us set things right? So try to write a story this week if you can. Drop a comment of what you would title your story below. Try to think about plot and how you can make your story interesting for readers, or just interesting for yourself. Okay, and as always, if you want feedback on your writing, you can email our writers workshop email at lmccwriters@gmail.com, and I'll put that in the description for this video. I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Okay, take care.